No, it's best if I don't.
So, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. We've got a great morning lined up this morning, and welcome Friday. Sometimes we just have to keep going on about welcoming everybody. It's Fun Friday, and we've got Emma here. Morning, Em.
Hello.
Hello. And we're joined this morning. It's all about pain to purpose, as you know, this week. How's your persecution become your provision? And I'm going to head over straight. We've got Australia with us this morning as well. And the story goes, Kel and I met when we were 12. We're going to be hearing all about that later, and how the miles have separated us to come back to being warrior women as we are today. And then we've got our lovely Lynne. Lynne and I met in a congregation, actually, and I was sat right at the back of the cathedral, and suddenly this lady in red appeared, and it suddenly woke me up and thought, oh, we've got some colour. So it's all about colour today. We're talking about, you know, our makeup. It's a chat show. It's all about girls, what we do. So have a think. Whilst you're with us, send us some love hearts as always. Put your arms around us. It's okay. Stick your thumbs up too. But just go back and have a think to your childhood. When did you first start wearing makeup? When was colour added into your life? And Emma, let's go over to you first and just hear about your first attempt to wear makeup.
Well, I've always dabbled with a bit of makeup, even though I was a real tomboy. Always messing about with my mum's makeup, and it's just made me remember I've got 3 sisters, and 2 older and 1 younger, and one of our grandparents bought Christmas presents, and I had this amazing makeup set, and they were nice presents, don't get me wrong, but they were so jealous because I got makeup when I was younger, and they were just like, why have you got makeup when you're the youngest? But it was great. So yeah, I just love messing about in makeup. Always learning. Love it.
Well, thanks, Em. I don't know who to go to first, because Kel and I met again when we were 12 and started dabbling in makeup and things like that. But then we've just been talking. What's real fun about these little live chat shows that just come from nothing to going globally is the fact that, you know, we talk more before we actually come on live, and we find out all sorts of things about each other. So we should really be recording before we record, I think. Lynne, tell us about your first recollection. You look so beautiful. Tell us who you are. Tell us why we're here and how this has all come about.
It's lovely to be here this morning. And I met, as Sally said, I met her in in the cathedral that day. Most of my life I've been in business, but later on in life I was called to come and work in the church, and I'm now a Church of England priest, having been a businesswoman for many years. And I've now got a national job working across the country for the London Institute of Contemporary Christianity, where I work with the Church of England, helping churches. I first started wearing makeup, I think, when I was 11 or 12. I've always loved makeup. But my dad, he was so scared of his little girl growing up. I was a real dad's girl, blue-eyed girl. And he said to me, you can start wearing nail varnish and lipstick when you can earn it for yourself. But what he didn't realise, I'd get my first job when I was 15 in an ice cream shop. So, but I did dabble from early on, and I can't quite imagine life without my mascara and my lippy. You know, people say, what are the 2 bits you could never do without? I think it's mascara and lippy, and I do like pink lipstick. And at the moment, I've got no shellac on, and I feel that I feel quite desperate, actually. I need my shellac back in my life.
Me too.
It's heartbreaking.
It's funny, isn't it, how we've got I mean, obviously that's our industry, so we're without our clients doing shellac all day every day without applying makeup, but you know, we've got our online shops open, which is just great that we can help people, you know, still without their makeup. We can do tutorials and things like that, so we're very blessed. But if I may, thanks for that, Lynn. If I may, I just might head over to Kel, and I just hope that we can share a funny story with you when we were at school. When I was, we moved over to Australia when I was 12 to live with my father, and my first few days at Northmead High School, I met Kel, and she took me under her wing like you would never believe. You know, I was in turmoil because I'd left Australia, I'd left England, I'd left my mum behind, and we'd gone to live in a new town, a new country, and Kel was in my class, and she took me under her wing, like I've just said, and that means such a lot. I'm sure, Lynn, you will help us out with being taken under wings shortly, later on in the programme. But Kel, remember, I mean, you know, you did look after me. Can you remember the first recollection of our makeup times? I know who I had to go and stand with in the office, and you, because I wore makeup. Do you remember?
I remember telling you how you had to behave in the office, even though I'd never been there before.
Oh, really? Can you remember why? Kel, tell us a little bit about you and what you've gone on to do since our troubled days at school.
Yeah, well, I've gone on to be a healer and a helper and a supporter of anyone going through any problems in their lives. And I guess when you're feeling a little lost, like Sal was at that time, it sort of comes naturally for me to reach out to people in that sort of situation. So I've got lots of beautiful friends through doing that in my journey, and Sal's probably one of my most precious.
Yeah, and likewise, you know, what we did find we had in common as well is that we were both from, I don't like using this term, and you don't hear it very often, and forgive me, but I am going to use it because we were from broken homes. I don't like it now, it's not used, but our parents were divorced, you know, and so we found that we had that empathic pull towards each other as well, didn't we? And you know, Kel's father was a businessman just like mine, and you know, I mean, we used to go to your dad's holiday home, didn't we, Kel, up the coast and stay there, and we've had, you know, we were left for weekends on to have. Tell us about Pacific Park. What did we do in Pacific Park?
Well, as Emma said before, Sal and I were also tomboys, but girls as well. And we used to like to hang out with the boys, so we found this place where they all used to go motorbike riding. But I think the main reason Sal and I wanted to go was because we actually got to be adults when we were 12. And we used to just run amok. We used to put baked beans in the fires so that they'd blow up, and run around and do pranks to everybody there. And yeah, we were just the classic tomboys that hung out all weekend with the boys.
And we did actually escape school. I won't say, well, yeah, we did. We did run amok, didn't we? We got out of school one day, and Kel decided that we should go on the train that we didn't pay for all the way into the city to sit with the pommies in the Sydney cricket ground to watch the cricket, because that would make me feel at home, because I was surrounded by English people.
You ended up on the shoulders of a big English man, I remember.
Yeah, so you know what, it's crazy. So but going back to the makeup, because we are talking about from pain to purpose, and we're going to hear, you know, from all of us how we've all become, you know, and indeed you'll be watching this thinking like, oh, you know, what pain did I go through as a child of 12, getting into makeup, getting into all these things? What purpose has it been? You know, what's it serving you for? You know, how are you, what provision is it giving you? So Kel, I mean, we were taken I had to go and was sent to the head teacher for having makeup on, and my skirt was too short because everybody had short skirts the, you know, the Australian uniforms, I'm sure you've seen, are very short, and because I had to sew mine up myself, it was too short and I couldn't unpick it and whatever. Anyway, so the story goes is when I had to get to the head teacher, and she just looked at me and said, you know, how are you liking school so far, Sally? And I said, oh, well, I like it very much, thank you. Oh no, how are you liking Australia so far? So I said, oh, I like it very much, thank you. And she looked at me and she went, well, Australia doesn't like you, young lady.
Oh, seriously?
And that's it. And you remember that, don't you, Kel? And that is still in me now. And this head teacher, I can still
feel it.
I know. This head teacher was just like the head teacher out of the film Grease, wasn't she?
She was
Remember,
awful.
she was awful. And you know, Lynne, tell us why are these things still haunt us today, and how do you think our faith and whatever we believe in can comfort us?
Let me just start from my teenage years. My teenage years were spent in Northern Ireland, where there was, I mean, there was so much persecution because you were either Catholic or Protestant, and if you were on one side or the other, you were persecuted if you were in the wrong place. It was quite unbelievable that people knew what religion you were by your name. So my name, Lynne Saunderson, people knew I was a Protestant. So if I was in a Catholic area, and I worked, my first job at 16 was in the Royal Victoria Hospital, which was, I don't know if you've heard of the Falls Road, but it's pretty famous for where a lot of the rioting happened in the 70s. And my first job was there, and there was just so much, and most of the people I worked with were Catholic. But what it taught me as a really young age was to stand up for diversity and to stand strong, and never to allow myself to be persecuted because of who I am. And I went to a grammar school, and there was one Catholic girl in the grammar school because schools were completely segregated. And this girl, Anita, was my best friend, because it taught me to say, I will fight injustice, I will fight persecution, from being a little girl, because primary schools were segregated, secondary schools were. And I did a test when I was I was a director of change in the business world, and I did a test once about diversity, and I realized that my marks went through the scale because I had such a tolerance to diversity. And I see now, coming into work for the church, where there is, you know, so much persecution to do with faith and religion and cultures, that actually being a voice to fight for justice, to fight for equality, in the church alone, even to be a woman has been a fight. You know, it's in recent years, women have become priests and then become bishops, which is startling. So actually to be persecuted simply because you are a woman is quite shocking. And people have got a real sense of what a priest should look like. A priest should be a certain type of person who dresses in a certain sort of way and has got a certain kind of hairstyle. And I can pretty much confirm I've broken the mold for a number of people on that. So what I've really learned to do was, when people have said, this is the sort of person my expectations of you are, you should look like this, your personality should be like this, I feel really strong now from that experience as a little girl to say, no, this is who I am, and I will be this, and I will allow myself to be molded by God, who's transformed lots of me, but the person he's made me is this. So this is what you've got, and it might not fit your mold, but this is the way it's staying.
Good for you.
And what about Anita? What happened to Anita, and was it an all-girls school?
No, it was a mixed school. We got to be with the boys. That was the good part. They were all Protestant boys, but we got to be with the boys, which was very enjoyable. I don't know what happened to Anita. We lost touch over the years, but what I can say is, when we were in school together, nobody ever got to bully or harass Anita. That's all I'll say.
Seems like a bit like me and Cal and me and Anne now, doesn't it? Nobody puts baby in a corner.
No. I love that line.
Oh my days. So you know, I can see you're very beautifully dressed in pink there this morning. Is this the attire that you're allowed to go with then? Tell us about Vicar fashion.
It's a really interesting topic.
Am I going to get shot down for asking whether you can stick like diamante on your collar?
Well, to me, there are no rules. I think because I spent years as in business and the business I was part of there was just complete equality, and there was no rules. You were who you were. I came in with that sense of, you know, I'll not ask for permission, you know, so I did it my way. There is a company that opened up from a vicar who said, vicars don't have to be frumps, and she developed an organization which develops nice, bright, colourful shirts for ladies, designed for ladies. So no, there isn't a rule of what you're supposed to wear. And yes, I do wear diamante at Christmas time, and there's lots you can do with other tops over black tops to show your diamonds.
A bit of bling, that's what we like. The Real Housewives of Cheshire.
There's a lady in my church called Margaret, and when I started going through the process for ordination, she called me to the side one day and she said, Margaret, her name is, she's gorgeous, and she said, Lynn, if you ever stop wearing lipstick and you ever stop wearing nail varnish and you start to dress like a frump, you will have me to deal with.
Sounds like our kind of gal.
And on most Sunday she comes to see me and says, you're doing okay.
Oh. So what about your, you know, I mean, nail varnish and things like that in the salon? You know, we do love some of the conversations that we have with our clients, don't we, about colour and nail art as well. What are your favourite nail art things that you like to do, Em?
I don't do loads of the nail art. I do little bits and bobs, but I really miss doing the gel nails. I find that quite, I find it quite therapeutic. But yeah, often like I'll laugh with clients and say, you know, when they're saying about going gracefully, or getting old gracefully, or what saying is, I'm like, no way. I'm like, even when I'm 90, I'm still going to colour my hair, I'm still going to wear makeup, and I'm still going to fake tan, and I'll still get my gel nails done. I'll be like one of those little dimpering old ladies that come into the salon and still get it all done. Absolutely, all the way. Yeah. Definitely.
So not only do we do things like that in the salon for ourselves, but I know my I'm going to have to say this, my dog is going for a pamper this afternoon to our local pamper parlour, the Porsche. I said I'd give her a shout out. Jackie was going to be joining us on one of the shows, but she's just so busy now. We've come out of lockdown, but Bella actually has a pedicure as well. So, you know, at the beginning of our lockdown, we were going to paint her nails just so I could keep my hand in, you know, keep going. So she too. So do you take your pets for a pedicure, or do you paint their nails? Again, it's all about colour. The pain that she goes through, she knows she's actually going to go there this afternoon, I swear, because she starts to shake, and I'm not sure whether that's because she's nervous about going or she's excited. Talk. So talking about holistic therapy and things like that, you know, I believe that, I mean, Lynne and I have had a chat a few weeks ago, and we've sort of chatted on and off, haven't we, Lynne, over very little chats here and there, but I really felt that this time has brought us together, because I was able to explain to her that, you know, when we're in the salon, when we have this thing that you know, we feel like when we're washing hands and feet, that we're being very holistic and we're putting good energy into people. Now, some of you might laugh at that, but it really is a feeling that people have noticed, haven't they, Em, when they come to the salon, that they feel different when they come to our shop. And I think it's also as well, when we're at the backwash and we're washing hair, I quite often just get the shower hose. If I go to wash my clients, and we've taught it downline as well, haven't we, Em, to all our apprentices, you know, they just stop for a minute and just get the water and cleanse the head of the client, whether it's male or female, just to feel that running water. Kel, can you elaborate on that a little bit in terms of holistic, because you're quite into sort of, you know, that sort of thing, aren't you? Being by the beach as well.
Well, I think anything that you're kind of talking about equality as well, because it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, you get the same result. And anything that's natural feels good to most people. You know, like everyone's got to love having their hands washed and their feet washed by somebody else and feeling a little bit special.
Yeah. What about you, Lynne? Where do you think that comes from? I mean, you know, obviously, I am going to say, I have to talk what I talk like normally. And, you know, I always say in the salon that I am a Bible basher, you know, and I really do love reading my big book. And so one of the characters in our big book is a lady called Deborah, who is quite a sturdy, she reminds me a little bit of Wonder Woman. Lynne, what do you think that she would say if she was here now, with all the fact that we wear makeup and we wear nail varnish and we wear bright colours? She was, you know, tell us a little bit about Deborah, because I think she's quite an exciting, feisty piece.
I think if we have to wear makeup or dress in a certain way or have our hair done to hide behind it, I think that's wrong. I think if we wear it to be an expression of who we are, that is right. Because what I believe in is being authentic, and one of the reasons I you know, my faith is so important to me, because it's all about bringing people to be the people they're supposed to be in all their wholeness. And I think society spends so much time and in persecution trying to say, you know, we want you to be that, which makes you not authentic. And it's, as I've got older and as I've got wiser, it's becoming more about being authentic. So if you're asking what somebody like Deborah would say, she would say, if you wear your makeup and you wear your pink lipstick because it's an expression of you and it brings out the color of you. And there's a verse in the Bible that talks about taking God's colors into the world. And I really believe in that I believe I can connect with people by being me, not by being a version of me that other people would like me to be. What you said about the hairdressers, that people coming in and feeling cared for, I think that's a big important thing as well. It's about being authentic to ourselves, but allowing and loving and caring for people so that they can be the best version of themselves. And being somebody who cares so much about diversity, to me, the best form of the world is when we can all live together differently with different views, different perspectives, and we can share those and we can be those without being judged. And I think we need to fight for that. And as women, I think we need to fight for that. And as men as well, I think we all need to, in equality of all our different colours and sizes, really say no more trying to fit people in nice little neat boxes. That's not how the world was designed to be.
And we thank you for that. And you know, we have a bit of a saying in our salon that, you know, it's kind words only, or don't speak at all, don't gossip, I mean, crikey, you know, we all sort of love a coffee and a chat, don't we? But when things, you know, it's all about how we honour each other and how we step into each other's shoes to win, you know, teach each other to win, set us all up to win. Win what? Well, you know, the battle that we face every day, you know, whether it's good or bad, you know, whether it's our families, our friends, and you know, what have you done recently? I'm asking all our people that are watching, wherever you're watching from, to, you know, set somebody up to win. How have you stepped into their shoes and, you know, encourage them to be somebody that they're longing to be, instead of trapped into a box, as Lynne said. So just before we finish then, obviously we've been chatting for nearly half an hour. It's crazy, isn't it, where the time goes? I know that you know, we've sort of, Kel and I have separated you know, I came back to the UK, and but we moved back into Australia in 2007 and suffered a trauma at the time. And, you know, Kel was there to help along with my sister. And, you know, even though we've gone years, Kel, haven't we? You know, without being in touch. I mean, years ago, the only way we could communicate was by airmail. And we've done all sorts of things with airmail.
I wasn't very good at email.
You weren't, Kel. You've matured.
I just give it a random phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. And oh, what time is it over there? But I can remember when. Do you remember actually rolling a cigarette with one of my mum's airmail letters? We couldn't find any of the little. And what were those papers called that you roll cigarettes? Yeah. So you know, but
yeah,
the point is,
really nice and thin.
the point is that you know, the miles that separated us, we've actually never been separated, and it's almost like, oh, Lynn, what happens when that sort of friendship? It's like a bond that is inseparable. Is it a bond through faith? Is it because we just keep coming back to each other? What happened? Where's the pull in the universe or the God, or where does that come from?
I think humanity has been created, and in the story of Genesis and creation, we were created to be connected. And I do feel that there are often connections. We make lots of connections that come and go, but there are connections that we make where there is a real spiritual togetherness. Have I time for one quick story?
Yes, of course.
I went to Africa in 2012. I went on a mission to these really deprived schools in Uganda. And somebody came and put a little boy on my knee. His name is Jonathan. And he looked like he was about 3, but everything about his body said he was about 3 months old, but he was really long and looked much bigger. He sat on my knee for literally 3 days. And this deep connection formed. He couldn't speak. I found out later that he had so many severe disabilities. He couldn't speak, he couldn't hear, he couldn't see, he couldn't eat. There was just so many issues with him. He was severely disabled. But we had this connection, and I knew he was smiling at me, and it's still a connection that we hold today, and it's beyond human understanding. And I think that happens. Sometimes you connect with somebody who you even can't talk to or communicate with in the physical. And it taught me so much about human connection. So there are people who are brought into our lives, and they'll never go, and years can pass, but they're supposed to be part of our lives, and they'll, you know, always be there in some form.
I think as well, just if I may, you know, Emma's daughter is about to embark on a trip overseas, isn't she, to Sri Lanka soon? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so she's going to be working in a hospital in Kandy in Sri Lanka for I think it's 7 weeks. It's all changed because she's meant to actually be there now, but because of everything, it's been put back. But yeah, she's going to be working out there as part of her nursing course. So that's going to be a real eye-opener for her, and probably, you know, get to meet people like you did, Lynne. And oh God, that it just really affects me when I hear stories like that. I get so emotional, I can't help it.
You're real, though. It's real. You know, this is the whole point, isn't it, of doing these live things, is that we don't ever get a chance to be real when we're at work all day. We've learned so much about each other over this lockdown, all of us from CZ. You know, we've connected every day. We've talked more than ever, you know, and it's just we've been through all sorts of loss and, you know, separation. And, you know, Kel and I, again, you know, Kel, you've been through an awful time, haven't you, over the years? And how have you, how has it been your provision, just before we finish?
I think it teaches you how to look within, and get a different perspective on things rather than just what you've been conditioned to think about things. You know, you can look at pain in many different ways depending on how you choose to think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it can be a positive or it can be a negative. It's your choice.
So yeah. I challenged Kel about 50 million trillion years ago. One thing to write to me, but now we've got email and now we're communicating this way, which is brilliant. But the other thing was, I was very fortunate to got sick to death of hearing myself. We talked to Karen Kelly last night about writing books. So, I'm dyslexic. I thought, right, okay, well, I'm going to write a book one day. So I did. So, Kel, this is my challenge live on air, that I think your journey that you've been on is absolutely incredible, and we haven't got time to talk about it all today. So maybe you might come back. I think we're going to be carrying on these shows because we've just had such a lovely time.
I think we are.
Good feedback as well. Has just been incredible. So thank you for everyone that's encouraged us. And Kel, I think we need to write this book about our story, because I do actually, we'll be hearing from Jamie this afternoon. Jamie's a counsellor and she's been telling us about women that are crying out for, well, and guys too, it's your humanity is crying out for success stories, for stories that have come from a pain, that have created a purpose for them. And we're real. Let's stop hiding behind pretend things on Facebook and social media, pretending the world is
or people's
great
expectations.
Yeah. And so anyway, we need to go off, or else we're going to carry on talking, which isn't.
Okay, lovely to meet you. And Emma, every Sri Lankan I've met is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
go on.
Tell her. This very, very quickly, for the first time in all these weeks, I'm able to connect to who is watching and who is sending messages. I can't multitask normally, but for some reason today I can. So just to say hello to Helen, she said hello, and Kerry as well is saying good morning. So and Jamie has enjoyed our stories, so she's very, very thankful for us all sharing. So
oh, well, that's lovely. And I know great faithful women as well that have sent those messages. So, and we've got loads of women watching us. And again, you've got an opportunity this afternoon, to join in at 3 o'clock. And this is recorded, so we will be popping it on our YouTube channel, so you can go over to that eventually when I get round to doing it and subscribe. We've all learnt new talents. We've talked about talents that we've learned, how we're going to carry on using them for the rest of our lives, hopefully, and how we're going to teach other people to do that too, not to be afraid of your own success. So Lynne, thank you so much. It's been, I know we're going to carry on speaking.
Certainly are. It's been lovely.
Do join us again. Let's keep
I'll
connected.
call you a share.
And maybe we may maybe we may meet again soon. So have a great day, everyone. Fun Friday. And if you're around at 3 o'clock this afternoon, we've got Jamie joining us again with some more impact on her counselling, the topic of pain to purpose. And not to forget as well, oh my gosh, I don't know where it's gone. I'll let you all know this afternoon to just remind you of Karen's book. And Kel, let us get writing.
All right, all good.
Have a great day, everyone. Kel, have a good sleep.
Thanks, ladies. Bye.
Bye. Bye.